What's up YouTube, Saf here on SuperSaf TV, and this is my hands-on and first look at the Sony Xperia XZ2 and the XZ2 Compact, the latest offerings from Sony. So first things first, one of the biggest criticisms that we had last year on the XZ1s was the bezels. They were quite large, but Sony has taken that feedback on board, and now the XZ2s have much smaller bezels, not as small as some of the other devices out there, but a big improvement to last year. We now have an 18:9 aspect ratio on both devices. The XZ2 has a 5.7-inch display and the XZ2 Compact has a 5-inch display. Now 5 inches doesn't really seem compact anymore, but the form factor is actually very similar to last year. So you've got a larger screen in a smaller body because of the smaller bezels. Now both displays are HDR with full HD resolution. So we've not got Quad HD. I was hoping for Quad HD on the XZ2, but it looks like maybe Sony is saving the resolution hype for their premium model, which probably will be called the XZ2 Premium or the XZ Premium 2, I don't know. Now both displays do actually look pretty good, and we've also got a new feature which is SDR to HDR Up Conversion. Now what this is basically going to do is take regular standard dynamic range video content and then up convert it to high dynamic range in real time. Now from the side-by-side demo that I saw, it did look very, very promising. Now another welcome change is in the design. Sony has had a very similar design language for many of their devices, quite blocky with hard edges. This has now changed for the X2s, and we have much smoother curves, and they do actually feel much more comfortable in the hand too. The XZ2 has a metal frame with 3D Gorilla Glass panels on the front and back. Feels very premium and reminds me a little bit of the HTC U11. Now, as with all devices that have a glass back, these do attract a lot of fingerprints, so I would definitely recommend picking up a skin or a case for these. Now this design Sony are calling liquidity of light, and with the XZ2 Compact, they're calling it diffusion of light. And that's because although there is a metal frame, the Compact has a polycarbonate back, so a plastic back, and it has a frosted glass-like finish, which feels okay, but not as premium as the XZ2. Both devices are water and dust resistant, and Sony have also said that they have an anti-twist and anti-bend structure, which should make them very durable. Now, I'm not one to bend and twist devices, but I'm sure my buddy Zach from Jerry Rig Everything will be doing some durability tests as soon as these devices are out. Now we have further design changes on the back. Everything is now symmetrical, and we have a fingerprint scanner in the center of the back. Now Sony traditionally has had fingerprint scanners on the right hand side, which I've always thought is a bit of an odd choice. They work well, but it's not as convenient as having something at the front or the back. So I'm definitely glad that they've made this change, and the fingerprint scanner is also going to be always on, so you're not going to have to push down on it. You can just touch it and it's going to unlock the device. Now above the fingerprint scanner is the camera. It's a single camera on both devices, 19 megapixels motion eye. Now the camera might seem the same on paper, but Sony have co-developed a custom ISP with Qualcomm for the Snapdragon 845 processor. And this should give lots of improvements, including better noise reduction, better color, as well as better edge enhancement. Now with video, this is where we've got a big improvement. We've got 4K HDR video recording. Now this is something that I'm really looking forward to testing out properly. Should be getting more detail, more color, as well as more contrast. Obviously, we'll be doing lots of SuperSaf style camera comparisons with the XZ2s and other devices as soon as the retail versions are out, so make sure you're subscribed and have switch on notifications to see those first. We've still got Sony's Super Slow-Mo, which is 960 frames a second. This time, however, it is at 1080p. Last year we had 720p. Now it still works in a very similar fashion to what we had last year, so it is just a very short burst of 960 frames a second. So you kind of have to pre-plan it, and I personally found myself not using this too much because of that reason. It's definitely nice to have, but it's not too practical in my opinion. 3D Creator is still here. It's been improved in terms of the resolution. So this is where you can scan people's faces as well as objects in 3D. And now you should also be able to post them directly onto Facebook to share with your friends and family. But the new thing this year is that you can also use 3D Creator from the front-facing camera, so you can get 3D selfies. Now I did a quick test of this in the demo room, and it did do a pretty decent job, I have to say. It's not going to get your full head from the back as well, because you're not going to be able to reach that far back, but you can scan the front of your face in 3D. Now this is definitely a fun feature, but once again, I don't think it's something that I would use on a regular basis. Maybe you will. Now for the processor, as mentioned earlier on, we do have the latest Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 processor with 4 gigabytes of RAM on both devices. We've not got 6 gigabytes of RAM. Once again, I think this is something that Sony may be saving for the premium version. And for storage, we've got 64 gigabytes as a base, but this can be expanded with the micro SD card slot. Both devices are going to be coming with Android Oreo out of the box with Sony's skin on top. And for the batteries, the XZ2 has a 3180 mAh battery. The XZ2 Compact has a 2870 mAh battery. Both have fast charging, but with the XZ2 you do have Qi fast wireless charging as well. This is something that's not available on the XZ2 Compact. Now let's talk about the audio. Obviously Sony is very big on audio, and both devices have front-facing stereo speakers. This is probably one of the other reasons why the bezels are not as small as some of the other devices out there. They're 20% louder compared to last year's models. We also have high-res audio with S-Force front surround sound. The downside, however, is that we no longer have a 3.5mm headphone jack. This is something that we're seeing from more and more manufacturers, and it looks like Sony is joining the gang. The XZ2 does have Sony's dynamic vibration system, and this is basically gonna act like the DualShock that you have on the controllers. So based on your content, it's gonna analyze the algorithm, and then it's gonna vibrate your phone to the content that you have on your screen. So whether you're watching a video or playing a game. Now, this is something that I can't see too many people using for video, but I can definitely see an appeal for gamers. Now, finally, looking at the price in the UK, the XZ2 is coming in at around £700, with the XZ2 Compact coming in at £550 with a release date of 6th of April. Now, that pricing is actually quite competitive compared to some of the other flagships out there. But some of the other flagships out there do have high resolution displays, dual cameras, etc. And these features, I believe, are going to be coming to Sony's next device. Sony have also teased a dual camera module that they're working on, which should significantly improve low light performance. And I think this is going to come on their next premium model. So there we have it, guys. The Sony Xperia XZ2 as well as the XZ2 Compact. What do you guys think of these? Definitely drop me a comment below and let me know. In my opinion, they are generally positive, and I think especially with the compact version, for those of you who don't want too much of a large device, this is a great option because it isn't compromising on a lot of things such as the processor and the camera. And features like the 4K HDR video look very, very promising. I cannot wait to test these out. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do hit that thumbs up button for me. And if you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe and switch on notifications. There's lots more content coming up in here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.